joining us today. Hope everybody's staying safe. Today we'll be going over deceptive advertising, the types of deceptive advertising, and how we can prevent it. I'm Christopher Mundo, studying finance and marketing. With us, we also have.
I'm Kathy DeLeon, and I'm a junior in marketing.
I'm Levi Cook. I'm a sophomore in supply chain management.
My name is Talal Mahmood, and I'm a junior in Management Information Systems.
My name is Giselle Valdez. I'm a junior planning to major in accounting.
And I'm Jordan Garza. I'm a sophomore planning to major in business management.
Deceptive advertising is advertising that is misleading or falsely advertises of any type of product, whether physical or electronic. Is deceiving to the customer and presents a false narrative to them. The five types include failure to disclose, bait and switch, mislabeling, flawed research, and trademark infringement. Why is deceptive advertising ethical? Deceptive advertising creates a false narrative of what the product is truly promoting. It can lead to companies creating dangerous problems for the customer or the person that they are selling to, and this can result in financial or legal action on the company.
All right, and our first type of deceptive advertisement is failure to disclose. One of the examples is probably of a company everyone has heard of, which is Red Bull, who's being sued for over $13 million for their drink actually not giving you wings. And although realistically we all know drink won't actually give you wings, it still shows the importance of the advertiser to disclose all the information on the product so the consumers know what they're buying. And another example would be a big name company, which is Samsung, who are being sued for $2 billion because they did a commercial basically saying that their phones were water resistant. But the reason behind this was they boost a IP8 water resistant rating, which basically means that the phone can be underwater up to 1.5 meters for up to 30 minutes. But they don't disclose what type of conditions. So in the commercial, they show chlorine water like a pool or salt water like at a beach. However, that is not true because the conditions are just on totally normal water. But in the commercials, they show under extreme conditions. So they fail to disclose that the phones are actually not compatible with chlorine water or salt water.
Another type of deceptive advertising would be bait and switch. This was seen relevant with the company Lenovo. Lenovo advertises like they were advertising prices for less than what the product was actually selling for, and when the customers thought that they were getting a better bargain, they actually amped up the price again, which customers were most of them were confused. Now, what this did is that it promoted dishonesty between the producer, being Lenovo, and the consumer, because the consumer was being deceived into thinking that the price was right or that it was at a lower price than their competitors were. In that case, that wasn't true, and this caused a lot of heat between the consumers at Lenovo because they thought that the advertising that they were using were being falsely used. And now, with that being said, their most recent purpose was to go on websites and try to attract or try to drive traffic online so that they could bring in more and more ads, and then they can persuade even the investors that they had more that their balance sheets and that they were being equally paid for with dividends. However, with that being said, even though with the great deals and the low prices, quote unquote, that Lenovo offered, none of those were true. Though those are only because of the ads and then the online traffic that they had claimed to be. And when customers were approached or when the salespeople were approached, they were usually giving the excuse that claiming that the websites were down, and Lenovo would not necessarily take the prices down even after the consumer said, "Oh, if this is not the right price, then why is it still up?" Lenovo would still have those prices up without even after the consumer had barged in and said that those prices are not what were shown in the commercials and in the ads, which was totally off limits. And because of that, you have the Competition Act, Now, the Competition Act prohibits bait and switch strategy specifically, and this was because of the anger and the frustration that the consumers took to social media, and then which in that case the Lenovo CEO had to apologize because he said that it was a misconception and that they will try their best to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
So in January 2016, the Department of Justice started a lawsuit against Volkswagen on behalf of the EPA. So the FTC ended up filing against Volkswagen due to its false claims of cleaner diesel emissions when they used an illegal emissions product to defeat devices that were designed to mask the high emissions during government tests. The FTC alleged that during the 7-year period that Volkswagen deceived the consumers based on their false claims on an estimated of 550,000 vehicles. Volkswagen's promotional materials repeatedly claimed that its clean diesel vehicles have low emissions, including that they reduce the nitrogen oxide emissions by 90% and have fewer such emissions than gasoline cars, which is unfortunately not true. When in fact that the FTC's complaint states that they made up 4,000% more than the legal limit of NOx, a dangerous pollutant that contributes to environmental harms and respiratory ailments.
So another type of deceptive advertising would be flawed research, and a perfect example of this would be Skechers, the shoe company. In April of 2009, they launched their shape-ups and toners shoes, and they claimed that this facilitated weight loss based on the research that the company paid to have done. This also goes hand in hand with the failure to disclose that we discussed earlier, because they failed to disclose that Dr. Stephen Gotru was the husband of a marketing executive within the Skechers company. In addition to that, they failed to disclose that Skechers actually paid Dr. Gotru to conduct this independent study in the first place.
Trademark infringement. According to the United States Patent and Trademark Office, a fried chicken brand in South Korea closely named their business after the well-known fashion brand Louis Vuitton in order to get more sales because of their relation to a large and well-known fashion brand. This resulted in them being fined for $14.5 million because of the actions they committed, and resulting in them to having to change their name immediately. This hurts the consumer because it promotes a company that people think is closely affiliated or is the brand that many people love or they are shop at a lot, which can result in a false narrative being created between the producer and the consumer, ultimately hurting both parties.
We do have some recommendations for the company in order to reduce deceptive advertising, regardless if it's intentional or accidental. So first off, we have don't omit key information. So all information should be clear and relevant to the main claim when producing advertising. Second, we have make sure pricing is always clear. So the main price should always directly relate to the item that is being advertised. For the third bullet point, we have don't exaggerate performance ability of a product. So this is basically just saying don't over exaggerate your claim in the way that somebody's going to misinterpret what you were trying to say about that said product. For the fourth bullet point, you need to have evidence to back up all your claims regarding your product. And the level of evidence you have depends on the type of claim. So, for example, if you're making a large claim, you need a substantial amount of evidence to back that up. So that way your consumer can understand and realize that your claims are actually credible and not just coming from thin air. And lastly, know the laws. Understanding the state laws for marketing and advertising regulations is important for avoiding difficulties when actually advertising products. In closing, it's important for the company to be honest and truthful with the product that they're selling. Deceptive advertising does no good for the producer nor the consumer. This type of advertising means that the product that the consumers were once promised is not the product that they're receiving. And due to this, the result is likely that the producer is going to face financial and legal repercussions for their actions. After reviewing very common examples of deceptive advertising, such as failure to disclose, bait and switch, mislabeling, flawed research, and trademark infringement, we can better understand this relationship between the consumer and the producer. So overall, by using deceptive advertising, these companies are not providing consumers with all the information that they need in order to make a good decision. This can be seen as unethical while also offending basic moral principles of human conduct.